Is this going to be the redeem team? The Denver Nuggets have had disappointing finishes to the last two seasons. A lot of it due to injuries, due to performance. The Nuggets have just kind of been rocking a very weird ship for the last 2 years come playoff time. But now the team looks together. They look refreshed. Jamal Murray looks better than he's ever been to start the year. Jokic is playing like an MVP again. Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., they're all trying to figure out their role. But is this going to be the team that gives them the opportunity to get ring number 2 and set the last 2 years back on the right course? Yo, this is Swiper, and this is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. So glad for you all to be here today. Make sure you continue to tap in on YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. This channel is on the way to 15,000 subscribers, y'all. Let's continue to get the subscriber numbers up. Also, if you're listening to this on the audio side, on Apple iTunes or Spotify, give us a 5-star review. That way more and more people can listen to the great content being made here at Locked On Nuggets. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase, y'all. I hope you're having a great day, spectacular day, y'all. We are going to have a very fun and interesting episode. So let's get straight to it. I've been having a lot of conversations with people about this team. I've been on podcasts, I've been on shows. A lot of people have asked me questions about what is the spirit of the team right now? What is the energy of the team right now? How are people feeling about the team overall from a fan base standpoint? And do the players look like they are in a good place? And I would say that my sentiment is this team feels together. They have more energy than they've had in recent seasons. And it feels like kind of remember the 2018-19 year and the 2022-23 year. Remember 2018-19, they won 54 games. The Nuggets started off 9-1 that season. They beat the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant and Steph in them. And you just felt like that team was on a mission. They were young. They were looking to go out and prove that they were one of the best teams in the league. They finished as the 2 seed that year. 2022-23. Remember, when Jamal Murray first gets back, Aaron Gordon and Jamal are finally playing together again for the first time since the 2020-21 season. And then now you really get an opportunity to see the whole cast of characters together to go take on an NBA champion. And then in this year, Jamal Murray last year was dealing with injury going into the year. He got hurt in the Lakers series, and then he was injured in the Minnesota Timberwolves series. And then obviously Aaron Gordon has the injury to a lower body during the regular season, gets hurt again at the end of Game 6. That literally was a debilitating injury that would have had him out for weeks. And he did his best. He absolutely did his best to try to help the team. He played well, given what you could expect from him. And then obviously Jamal Murray didn't have a good Game 7. Jokic was good in the first half and then got swarmed in the third quarter. And then obviously Michael Porter Jr. was dealing with the shoulder injury. There were just so many different things going on that it just felt like the end of the last 2 seasons was just really disappointing. Not just because of the outcome, but because the team just didn't seem like they were there. They were either super bruised and banged up and didn't have enough players, or they were just dealing with injuries. And in the 2023-24 year, y'all, when Jamal got hurt, it really changed how well the Nuggets were supposed to be able to play in that series. Obviously, they had a chance in Game 7. Jamal had 35, Jokic had 34 points, but then nobody on the team scored more than 7 points. They had a 20-point lead at the top of the third quarter. We all thought they were moving on to get ready for the play in the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. And then everything fell apart, especially at the end of the third and top of the fourth. And then, like I said, last year just was a culmination of a lot of things. So this year feels like this should be and could be the redeem team for the narrative of the Denver Nuggets. Because I think if you're watching all the podcasts that are out right now, Zach Lowe and Bill Simmons, they love Denver. They always have loved Denver, and Jokic especially. A lot of people are having the conversation that they're just so glad and so thankful that finally, the Nuggets have like a actual rotation of players on their roster since the 23 year. Because remember, Calvin Booth had a very specific vision. And, one of the things that I said the other day was, I saw Malone, he was on an NBA show on ESPN, and he was breaking down like Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks. And it just kind of made me sad, in part because obviously Malone, he's moved on. He's had a gut, getting paid, has a really great gig. He's really good at it. But, Malone is a coach. But if you see how like the split with Malone and Calvin Booth and what it did to the infrastructure of the team, everybody felt that energy, and it carried over throughout the entire regular season. They were just discombobulated. The defense was bad all year. Things got stale. They didn't have anybody they could go to. They had a bunch of late first-round picks and second-round picks that were making up the rotation. So when you put all that stuff together, man, it just felt like there were missed opportunities the last 2 years for greatness and for another championship. But I think if you look at this year, the goal and the hope is, and this starts from Josh Kroenke and John Wallace and Ben Tenzer, is to put a team in place that has answers, and that if you face difficulties, you're able to match those difficulties with players who've been put in positive, advantageous situations to overcome them. And I think when you look at Jokic and you look at the energy that he's been able to commit so far, you look at especially Jamal Murray right now and how well Jamal has played to start the preseason and just how good he looks. And you look at Christian Braun. Again, I think one of the bigger storylines of this Nuggets year, it's Christian Braun has become like a good ball handler seemingly. He's navigating the pick and roll. He's initiating the offense. He's finding advantages, using his athleticism, his ability to get downhill to create advantages for Jokic or for Valanciunas or for Aaron Gordon. And then you have Aaron Gordon, who is spry, dealt with a lot of stuff last year on and off the court, and now he seems refreshed going into the year. This just feels like a different team, like a new season, like they're excited about what's in front of them. And one of the biggest things about winning a title, and one of the biggest things about becoming one of those teams that can win it all, is you have to have a level of belief and confidence in yourself and in your unit that is just clear as day. Like, I think the Thunder last year, if you watch all of the stuff that the Thunder did last year, the 68 wins, all that they went through the adversity in the regular season with the injuries, they just found like a cohesiveness that really carried them, and that when they got healthy again, all of a sudden they were just obviously blitzing everyone. And I think you have to be able to have like an identity and an attitude that no matter what happens during the year, if we stay together, we can overcome adversity. That for me is the mark of a champion. And I think that this Denver Nuggets team, I'm so excited to see how they really continue to ramp up and how they continue to get better, because I think that Clippers game, y'all, really for me was like a testament of just how strong this team is. I think that the last game they just played versus the Bulls, it just wasn't a game that the Bulls were able to contend with. Like, the Nuggets just found like so many options and so many ways to create advantages, to get to the basket, to create threes, you name it. They did all of it. So it's just so good to see this team, I think, operate in a good spirit, and to feel like they're able to play together and to feel like they have everything they need to continue to move forward as a unit. So just great, man. Like, I'm really curious what like the season looks like from Jokic. I said I think it's going to be a career season from him, but I don't even think that has to do with necessarily like the points, rebounds, and assists. I think it has more to do with the way and the engagement that he's going to be able to play, similar to 2023, but he's not going to have to hopefully carry so much of the load, where he's going to have to do everything on the offensive end. And the goal is that Murray's able to pick up a lot of that slack because he's better, but then because you have Cam and then Tim Hardaway Jr., Aaron Gordon, and the rest of these players, that then you'll be able to really feel it, a real difference. But I want to talk about Cam Johnson next, because Cam has, I think, been slowly but surely figuring out his role on this team. And I think there are very specific ways that this is going to continue to evolve over time. And I think by the time we get to the middle of the year, I think that's when Cam is going to be fully locked into what exactly he's supposed to be on this team. But we'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Man, the NFL season is here, y'all, and FanDuel has an offer that you simply do not want to miss. Y'all, right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put $5 down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, again, Thursday night football is tonight. You got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Steelers. I think that's going to be a really good game. It's probably going to be closer than people realize, even though the Bengals are 2-4, the Steelers are 5-1. But I think the Bengals with Joe Flacco, that's going to be a great opportunity for you to really try to test your NFL knowledge. So definitely try it. It makes watching football that much more exciting. You got a little bit more riding on the game. It gives you just more adrenaline as you're watching. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We'll be back for segment 2 here at Locked On Nuggets. All right, let's get to it. So Cam Johnson, y'all, I'm really excited about Cam Johnson. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm really excited about Cam. I'm really excited about his fit. I'm really excited to see how he finds his way in Denver and what he continues to expand on in Denver. And if you watch him play, he's really been engaged on the defensive end. Now, again, preseason for me is more about the process over the result. The result hasn't been like he's been like this amazingly dominant defender. But if you look at the process of his defense, he's playing extremely aggressive at the point of attack. He's doing whatever he can to try to disrupt the ball and screen navigation. But also in the lanes, he's been really good at pickpocketing. And I'm excited as he continues to figure out where exactly Christian and Jokic and Murray and Gordon and Peyton and Watson, like Peyton and Strother and THJ and Jonas Valanciunas, as he continues to figure out where everybody else is going to be on the floor, that's going to really help amplify the things that he's really good at. And you've heard me talk about last year with Cam Johnson a lot. And I know Nuggets fans, if you have been watching, you know, you're probably might remember some of this, but Cam Johnson, the last 42 games of the year, or the first 42 games of last season, he was averaging 19.1 points a game, 4.1 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. And he was shooting 49% from the field, 41% from three on 7.5 attempts a game, and he was shooting 90% from the free throw line. Y'all, he was averaging 19 points a game on 65 true shooting, basically. 19 on 65 true shooting for the first 42 games of the year. If you look at the way Cam has been able to ingratiate himself with this team, there are going to be runs and moments where he is going to go on these crazy shooting streaks, because if you look at the way that he plays and if you look at how he's been operating with Denver so far, he's working a lot off DHOs. He's, you know, when he does make a play towards the basket, he's making a play towards the basket with the intention of creating advantages for other people. And if you just kind of watch how he's figuring out how to play, because, you know, obviously Jokic had to tell him, like, don't try to worry about trying to fit in, you know, just go play your game. But I really love the process and how patient he's being with everything. Now, he's only shooting 31% from three so far. He's only getting 4 attempts a game. But if you look at how diversified the units have been, then you can understand kind of why it's taking a little bit of time. He's shooting 100% from the free throw line, you know, but he's only getting 19.7 minutes per game right now in the preseason. And he's plus minus wise, like he's a plus 9.5 each game that they played so far. Like, he's having good production. He's having really good moments. He's finding ways to be active defensively. He's finding ways to play off the ball. And I'm really curious to see, as the starters continue to figure out their flow, how exactly they're going to be utilizing. But one of the things that we're seeing Adelman do is Adelman is playing with Cam Johnson's role and where he's landing on a lot of these units. Because if you look at some of the lineups they're playing, you know, they got Cam Johnson playing a lot of shooting guard. They got Cam Johnson playing 4 at times. And they ran the lineup with Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, and Jonas Valanciunas. They had Cam Johnson operating as the 2 in that space, and they're really trying to utilize like a lot of his space and his ability to shoot. So I think that a lot of Nuggets fans are they're being patient right now. It's similar to being patient to Tim Hardaway Jr. because the results of connecting with the shots haven't necessarily translated yet. But if you just watch the way that he's been playing off the ball, he's dialed in. Like, he's playing with intentionality. But a lot of this is just going to come down to ingratiating a new player with this little runway. And all you've had is like 4 practices, in preseason. That's just not a lot of time. But I think Nuggets fans, just be a little bit patient and also just kind of watch what you're seeing already. I do think that he's been a lot better than the numbers show. And I'm really excited to see how him and Peyton Watson, how they continue to work together. And speaking of Peyton Watson, y'all, like, I'm so excited and impressed by what we've seen from Peyton Watson so far. The fact that if you look at the second units with the Denver Nuggets, when it's been Jokic out of the game, Peyton Watson has been playing a lot of the creator role. He's been bringing the ball up the floor. If there's been no Jamal in the game, he's had the ball, I think, even more than Bruce Brown has. And his ability to be able to use his athleticism and use his length to get downhill, to be able to navigate the screen, navigate pick and roll, and then be able to pass out of it and finish out of it. He's worked on that floater a lot. He's been in a situation now where he's like moving forward and like able to just like to make stuff at the rim. And then he's also been able to play the low man with Jokic like he did last year. So there's a world for Peyton where you can play that on-ball role with the second unit, but then obviously you can do some of that and then be able to still kind of play that backup 4 area in the dunker spot with Nikola Jokic. And this is going to tie into the conversation we're going to have on the other side about like some of the extensions and why I think it would be best for Peyton Watson to wait. But I do really value how much he's grown as a player and how much he's been committing himself to doing the small things and doing the things that David Adelman has really asked him to do. And with the second unit in particular, there's a surprising void because Jonas Valanciunas has clearly been like the primary focus because he's so good in DHOs. He's such a good screener. He's such a good post player as well. And I think that the Nuggets have been really intentional about trying to maximize those possessions with him because what it does, it puts the defense in a really bad spot. Because when he's trying to be aggressive on the inside, you have to guard him with another big. And so forcing you to stay big, the Nuggets then feel like they're able to put you in a disadvantageous situation because they can now run on you on the other end. And then they're still big enough to be able to bully you on the inside. And I think a lot of this with Peyton Watson is going to be about knowing who's on the floor with you and then knowing how to best be able to utilize and optimize the teammates and such around you. So Peyton, he's going to have a really interesting year. It's not always going to be pretty with him either because, again, learning how to be an additional ball handler, that just takes a level of IQ that you have to work out. And especially if you haven't played a lot of that position before. But like I said, Adelman's being very specific. He's not playing around. The double big lineup has been a common theme so far this preseason. Peyton Watson operating as the ball handler, common theme so far this preseason. And then Cam Johnson, versatility. Where's he playing? Who's he playing with? That's also been a common theme so far this preseason. So if you're just reading the tea leaves, the Nuggets are experimenting, but they're kind of also telling you like, hey, like, we want Peyton to take that next step. We want Peyton to develop a new role within this team. We want Cam Johnson to be able to play with anybody on the roster because you're just not going to find that kind of ball handling, shooting, and defense, and especially being a connected defender outside of him a lot on the roster. And if you put the fact that Cam Johnson now, Christian Brown now, Peyton Watson now, Aaron Gordon now, with Bruce Brown and Jalen Pickett and Jokic and Murray, the Nuggets are trying to create as many ball handlers and as many creators as possible because what's going to happen is you get in a playoff setting and the teams are fronting Jokic. You need players that can give Jokic the ball when he's being fronted. that's not just Jamal Murray. So, Peyton, you got to get better at that entry pass all season. Aaron Gordon, you got to get better at the entry pass all season. Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown, whoever it is, all of you have to be able to find ways to make sure you're giving the ball to your best player. And I think that's where a lot of the experimentation is going to come, especially with Peyton Watson at that guard spot. On the other side, though, got some interesting updates from the NBA and from a source within the NBA about what they think Christian Braun and Peyton Watson's contract extension is going to look like. We're going to talk about all that and more here at Lock On Nuggets. Now, the holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs to be refreshed, or a guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables, it's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees, y'all. I have to get more towels. I'm going to have guests. I'm going to have more people in my house this Christmas and this Thanksgiving than I've ever had before. And I absolutely need to make sure that I have bedding available, that I have towels available, and that just things you just need in the house for people. You got to be able to have stuff because people undoubtedly, they're going to ask for things, and I just want to make sure that I'm over prepared. And what Wayfair does is I love how easy it is to find pieces that fit in my style and my budget, because everything's in one place. And checkout, it's a breeze. I need stuff for outside because people want to sit outside and bask in the sun. So look, I'm going to go to Wayfair and get stuff for people to be able to sit on the porch. So get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And y'all, basketball season officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer for your team. That's where Gametime comes in. The app gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Now, again, Nuggets games coming up. If you want to make sure to tap into Nuggets games as they get ready to play versus the Warriors, versus OKC, versus the Lakers, versus the Knicks, this is where you go. When you use Gametime, you can see the seats from exactly where you're going to be. You can see the cost from that seat, and literally it makes it all that easy. You can get a ticket and check out all within a minute. It's honestly amazing. What you see on the screen and the price is what you're going to pay. There's no hidden fees at checkout. And their zone deals are game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, and you save big. And you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. We'll be back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. We're back for the final segment of Locked On Nuggets. I'm Swiper. Thank y'all so much for being here with us today. So, y'all, there has been not like some official news, but there's been updates to the Christian Braun and Peyton Watson contract on just how much we're speculating they could end up getting. Now, so the NBA, Bobby Marks and Tim Bontemps, they do great work with ESPN. They put out an article this morning that was detailing a lot of the situations around the league, from Dyson Daniels to Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, and then Torrey Eason with the Houston Rockets, Benedict Mathurin with the Pacers, but they also talked about the Denver Nuggets. So what we're looking at right now, based on what we're hearing, or based on what we're seeing with Bobby Marks, he is speculating and Bontemps is speculating, that the number that the Nuggets could look at for Christian Braun is about $21.8 million a year, which is a 5-year, $126.5 million extension. Now, one of the contracts they were juxtaposing the Peyton Watson contract with is Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs is an all-NBA defender with the Orlando Magic. He got a 5-year, $150 million contract. So when people are looking at the two, and especially for Christian Braun's agent, he's going to say, well, hey, like, I think Christian's a better scorer than him. I think if you look at the numbers, especially when he plays with Jokic, you can argue he's a better player than Jalen Suggs. But then the thing is that, like, when you look at Jalen Suggs, they were noting that Suggs is an all-defense player. He has awards on his side, and everybody knows that, like, he's one of the upper-tier defenders in the league. But if you kind of look at where he's at, the Orlando Magic had more roster flexibility when it comes to paying players because of where they were. They didn't have to worry about, like, clearing out, like, all this money and such. They just had the room to be able to pay Jalen Suggs $35 million a year and then to be able to be moving and just do whatever they need to do. But the Nuggets on the other end, they don't have that same level of flexibility, because if they get Christian Braun, even at the 21.8, that would still be one of the 15 highest paid contracts for a shooting guard in the league. And then if you're in that situation, then now you're looking at, like, Christian, you're locked in for long-term security. If you want to put a player option on the other side of that, then we could have that conversation. And then somebody correctly said, like, Keegan Murray just got a contract extension, and, you know, they could also look at that and say, like, you know, is Christian Braun better than this? Like, should he get more money than Keegan Murray? Now, Keegan Murray is in a completely different situation. You know, he was a bona fide lottery pick. You know, he's somebody that was drafted, I think, 4th overall in the draft. If I remember what he is, he's also like 6'9", really big, really good shooter, also really good defender. You know, he didn't have the best, you know, second season after his rookie year, but I don't know how much I blame Keegan for that. But Keegan got a 140 deal for 5 years, which is $28 million. So if you're Christian, again, you're an NBA champion. You just had one of the most efficient guard seasons ever. You're the clear POA defender for this Denver Nuggets team, and you play extremely well with Murray, Jokic, and Gordon, which are the 3 highest paid players on the team, and then including Cam Johnson. So if I'm the Denver Nuggets, personally, like I said, there's a route where Christian gets 30 to 25. But if I'm the Denver Nuggets, I'm arguing with a Christian, or I'm explaining to Christian, like, hey, this is where we are. We want you here long-term. We'll give you a 5-year deal. But if we keep this number here around here, well, this is all the other stuff that's going to be able to come with that. And I think the Nuggets, if they keep Christian around $22 million a year, which would be KCP money, I mean, that would be like an absolute steal. KCP is making $22 million a year right now, and I think you can make an argument Christian is better than KCP. Now, KCP is not playing next to Jokic and Murray, so that makes a big difference. But the NBA is the NBA. You play with who you play with. But if they can get a $22 million a year for Christian, I mean, that would be phenomenal. Because one of the things about Christian is, I'm speculating, he already took a leap from year 2 to 3. There's a chance, y'all, he takes a leap, as we're seeing now in preseason, from year 3 to 4. So the quicker they can get a deal by the October 21st deadline, I believe, then I think that would make it all worth it for both sides. Christian gets the money that he deserves, because then on the other end, they also have Cam Johnson coming down the pipe, because Cam is also eligible for another extension as well. Now, Peyton Watson's the other one. So Peyton Watson just turned 23 years old. You know, he's a really good defender, developing as an offensive player. Now, Mark suggested that if he signed a deal right now, Peyton would be looking at about a 4-year, $54 million deal, which would be $13.5 million, which is just underneath the MLE for the NBA. That would be, I think, good money for Peyton, but Peyton might feel that if he waits another year, then he might be able to get closer to 20, if not over 20. Because you got to understand Peyton's perspective. Peyton, 30th overall pick, I think he's making $3 million this year. He's been kind of figuring out multiple roles, playing out of position, playing big, power forward. Now he's playing back to ball handler. He's already like a super uber talented player. And he might think that, look, if I just have like a better year this year, which I'm expecting to, then I could be paid at least what Christian Braun is making. Now, the Nuggets some great things that I've seen in the comments have been, well, do the Nuggets want to, and Bobby Markson and them noted this as well, do the Nuggets want to tie into a Peyton Watson contract and pay him early when they paid Zeke Nnaji early? They gave Zeke Nnaji a 4-year, $32 million deal, expecting him to continue to get better. But that contract has now become an anchor, and I think he's making $7.4 million this year. That's a contract they really want to get off of because it's just not doing anything. It's not helping the team at all unless he just, again, himself takes a significant bounce forward this year. Zeke Nnaji might just need a new situation altogether, y'all, because it might just be a mental thing. I don't think Peyton's Zeke, though, because Peyton has already proven to be more valuable than Zeke. So it's going to be a matter of how much does Peyton Watson think he's owed now, today? And then how much do the Denver Nuggets think he's worth today and projecting forward? So Christian, I think, is going to be between $22 to $25 million. We'll find out here in a few days, hopefully. Peyton, like I said, $13 million. That's a risk for the Nuggets in some sense. Peyton might feel like that's an underpay. But again, if Peyton takes a legitimate leap and they have him under contract already, then they're saving money on the deal. But then that means they have more drafted players on the roster that they've already taken care of and that are on lower end deals for what they're offering, and then both hopefully get better. And then that's how you really build, like, you know, multiple championship runs. You have players that take team-friendly deals at the time, but then they overperform those expectations by the time you get to year 1 or year 2 of the contract, and then now you just have an influx of talent that's inside of the building. So, yeah, we'll see, y'all, but I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode, y'all. We'll be back tomorrow. Ryan Blackburn, Boom and Gloom, will be with you tomorrow. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. We're on the way to 15,000 subscribers. Y'all know what time it is. This is Swiper. Love y'all. See you on the other side.